So whether the gig economy creates squeals of excitement or shudders, it's definitely here. What are the things that are going to drive organizations going forwards to decide whether actually they want to encourage a freelance gig type model or whether they want to have employed people, albeit working flexibly?
I think what the gig economy does today is it reflects changing customer behaviour. In the old days in retail, it was pretty straightforward. You went shopping, 6 days a week between 9 and 6, and that was it. Nowadays, online shopping is 7/24. That's what the customer wants. Customer is king in these things, and so you have to be able to deliver that. To manage your seasonality, you need to bring in lots of temporary work, and the gig economy is a way of balancing seasonality and loads and demand and changing customer behaviour. And with gig, there's an adverse connotation without a doubt, and I think that that's something that we should expose and we should do something about. But if you jump in an Uber and talk to many of the drivers, as I always do, and you ask them what they do, they end up doing 3 or 4 different things, and they're working their lifestyle around these different jobs. So I think when the individual is in control of the circumstances and they're doing gig out of choice, that's a much better place to be.
What do companies have to do to really capitalise on that part of the employment market?
I think you need to think of the gig worker as being, one of your employees. So don't treat them as first and second class citizens. Secondly, people vote with their feet. And if yours is an awful place to work, unless somebody's really desperate, they're going to go and get a better job elsewhere. And that's the thing about gig workers. They are very, very portable. Their skills are portable, and there's a lot of demand for them. So they have got a little bit of power in this equation as well.
And in terms of the tools, Dave, that organisations present,
I think the biggest issue is understanding when an external person is a part of the team. And you have to remember the remote person or the contractor, if you will, isn't in the staff meetings. And so you have to compensate for that. No, this is what we're trying to accomplish. So you have to bring these people in more closely and more clearly than you may have to with employed colleagues.
Do you think there's some tricks from the retail world that actually could be used by organisations in terms of how they present material and content to employees?
What's really happening in the gig economy is making that on demand. And so you take something like an Uber. They have to run their drivers through some sort of orientation. They don't do that by flying them all in for a week of orientation. They do this basically on demand through, you watch these videos. So the reality is that a lot more of this onboarding process and a lot more of this alignment has to be done in a more effective model for the gig workers, for the remote workers, for distributed employees.
I think it's more about the type of people you hire. If you paint the picture of the company, what it's all about, its purpose and the role of the space that they're in, I think smart people will figure that out.
Can you conceive of situations where actually there will be companies with no actual employees at all, purely gig workers?
In some ways, it's already happened, and it's not even new in Hollywood. And you watch the movie credits, you'll see all these companies in there that existed primarily just for that movie. And then when the movie's over, it dissolves. And so to some degree, there's already happening in certain kinds of industries, and I expect that to continue to grow into more kinds of industries.
Could you see a point in retail where actually go that we don't have any employees, we just have gig workers now?
I can't see that in the near term. In a gig worker, you'll get some great work and some great outputs based around what you're paying them to do. They're probably not going to be suggesting better ways of doing things in the company. They're probably not going to be mentoring, developing, helping the next generation of leadership. So I think you'll get probably more out of regular full-time employees, but that doesn't mean there's not always going to be a role for gig, and the role for gig will be increasing over time.